If anything, this is a win for the Platinum card and a reason for why you need it. What's up guys, Sebastian. Today we're going to look at some changes to Delta Sky Clubs and how you might have dodged a bullet if you're on Team American Express. Towards the middle of the video, we'll talk about what they're not telling us or what they can't say and what it means for us. Big favor before we dive in is to give this a thumbs up to help with the algorithm. That way other people can see this and know what's going on. And if you are new here, you want to maximize travel or cash back, then consider subscribing. Back in the day, the allure of airport lounges was that it was an oasis for frequent travelers. You have a quiet and comfortable space to relax and work and potentially access other amenities like showers. Typically there's food, whether it's snacks or full-on meals, and also drinks, whether soft drinks or alcohol. Traditionally, access was limited to certain travelers. For example, if you were flying a premium ticket like business or first, or if you had frequent flyer status. As you might expect, one of the problems was that lounges were underutilized. A lot of them reacted by either selling day passes or even year-long ones. The next step was to partner with financial institutions, and Delta ended up choosing the king of travel cards, American Express. And I'd say it worked. In 2014, they were happy with their arrangement and they ended up renewing their partnership again. By 2019, American Express and Delta had a pretty happy partnership spanning over 23 years. In fact, they were so happy that they renewed for an additional 11 years until the end of 2029. Reminder that this renewal happened in 2019 before the shutdowns. Fast forward to today and Delta is dealing with overcrowding. Many people complain about 30 to 60 minute long lines in hubs like Atlanta, the Twin Cities, Detroit, or JFK. On a side note, I do feel like this is more isolated to hubs. Out of the West Coast at least, I haven't really noticed this. I fly San Francisco to LAX probably 1 to 2 times a month, and I don't really deal with crowds. One of the reasons why Delta has it the worst compared to American or United is the fact that there's so many people who can get in. So number one, unlike American and United, you can get in with a flagship non-co-branded card. In the case of American Express, it's the Platinum, but if you look at other issuers with things like the Chase Sapphire Reserve, that doesn't get you into United clubs. To be fair, the City Prestige did in the past, but that's since been nixed. Number two, similar to pretty much every other airline, anyone could buy a membership pass. Number three, Delta elites that have choice benefits can pick it as a perk. Lastly, historically, Delta has not had their own version of a business class lounge, meaning that everyone goes to the same lounge. This is changing though with the first Delta One lounge opening in JFK in 2023 and LAX in 2024. And to be fair, that is still pretty far out. American has 6 flagship lounges and United 6 Polaris lounges that are fully operational when there are enough flights. Delta is doing 3 things to deal with the overcrowding. Number one, and the biggest deal for us, is that they're changing the access policy. Number two, they're adding a tracker. And number three, they're opening additional lounges and expanding some other ones. A lot of people are going to be pissed with this, but not if you have the Platinum card. If you have the Platinum, the only thing that's changing is the guest fee going from $39 to $50. A 25% increase isn't great, but it's still better than everyone else. With the Platinum card, you still get access for yourself when you're flying Delta, and you can access it within 3 hours of your flight. As a filming, you can enter on arrival, but they've flip-flopped on this a few times. For everyone else, they were super heavy-handed, but they rolled out the red carpet for American Express. Super fast example, but imagine 3 people all flying basic economy. I think you'd be surprised by who gets in and who doesn't. Number one is a top level diamond status person who has flown a ton of miles with them and spends a lot of money. Number two is someone who has Delta Silver, so the most basic status, and bought a $1,500 per year lounge pass. Number three is someone that maybe flies once or twice a year, but has the Platinum card. As crazy as it sounds, with basic economy, only the person who has the Platinum card gets in. You can kind of think of the Platinum like an Exodia or like a Trump card that kind of overrides everything. So if anything, this whole situation is a win for the Platinum card and an argument for why you need it. And yes, this applies to the business Platinum and corporate Platinum and pretty much every other flavor like the Schwab or Morgan Stanley. And also the Delta Reserve and Delta Reserve Business who have access to the lounge as well. It's kind of a weird twist of fate that arguably the cause of the overcrowding, credit card users are also the ones who reap the most benefit. Early next year, there's going to be a period where the lounges are a lot emptier and it's mostly going to be credit card users versus status people. On a side note, if you do want to learn about American Express cards and support the channel, we do have links on the website, AskSebby.com, and down below in the description box. Make sure the links are competitive, but otherwise, it's a huge way to support the channel, so thank you guys in advance. Also, if you are going for the Platinum, I'd recommend checking Card Match. We do have a blog post walking through that and how to look for that targeted offer. But generally speaking, you want your first American Express to be the 150K Platinum, and even if it's not your first, you want to kind of fish for that 150K offer. I'll put the Card Match link down below as well. Back to Delta, let's talk about how everyone else fared. I'll go through what they said and then what it really means, and also how it might impact one of the other airlines and one of the potential new cards coming. Starting on January 1st of 2023, they will no longer sell lounge memberships to people who don't have status. If you are not silver, gold, platinum, or diamond, you cannot buy a membership here. Number two, even if you can buy a membership, prices are going way up. For the individual plan, it's going from $545 to $695. Executive plan is jumping up from $845 to $1495. Executive is a pretty crazy jump at about $650. The main difference of exec is that you're allowed to bring 2 guests in for free, or your significant other and any children under 21. For individual, you still can bring a guest, but starting on February 2nd, 2023, it's jumping from $39 to $50, same with the Platinum one. It is interesting to see some of Delta's upper level status getting hit as well. For executive, it's going to cost you more choice benefits, and then you can no longer pick the individual membership. Even if you have status and you want to pay, you might not be able to get in. You need to fly either main cabin or a more premium cabin. Basic economy does not work, unless you have a platinum card, in which case, come right in. For international flights, gold, platinum, and diamond can go in, but only if you're flying Delta Premium Select or Delta One. So even though Delta isn't saying certain things, we can read between the lines. If all of this news makes you bullish on either American Express or Delta, then you're going to like today's sponsor, Moomoo. For the holidays, they're offering new members up to 20 free stocks. All you need to do is deposit $1,000 and keep it there for at least 60 days. Link down below if you want to check it out, and the expected value here is pretty good, but we'll talk about that in about 25 seconds. As a background, Moomoo is an investment app that allows you to trade like a pro, and it's available globally for users in the United States, Singapore, as well as Australia. There's 0 fees, professional tools, and also access to multiple markets. I love that they offer level 2 data in the US for free because other places try to charge for that. Given the current climate, I think it is worth mentioning that Moomoo is trusted and regulated worldwide. They have licenses with regulators such as the ASIC in Australia, the MAS in Singapore, SEC in the US, and FSC in Hong Kong. The Futu group of companies has obtained over 50 financial services licenses from financial regulators around the globe. For our purpose, they're regulated by FINRA, and your assets are covered by SIPC for $500,000, including $250K for cash. For the 20 free stocks, we looked at the odds and also the ranges of the stocks. By my math, the expected value of a stock ranges from $344 to $1639, with an average of about $991. If we take that number times it by 20, we pretty much have the intro bonus. On the low end, expected value is about $70, on the high end about $330, and average is about $200. If you are in Australia, they do have a promotion where you get 1 free 10-cent stock worth about $58 Australian dollars for a $100 deposit. Back to the US, if you do want to get 20 free stocks and learn more about Moomoo, I'll put a link down below. Or go to AskSebby.com/Moomoo. I'm a firm believer in finding win-win deals, and I feel like this is a pretty good one. Thank you to Moomoo for sponsoring today's video. Let's rewind the clock 400 years and you were on a ship in the old days. If you were out in the water and you were dealing with weight issues, and if you don't fix it, it's going to go down, what do you toss out? Probably the heaviest items. But what if the heaviest items were gold bars? In that case, you're probably tossing everything else out first before you even touch the gold. Whether that's the cannonballs, the cannons, the cabinets, pretty much everything. Rightly or wrongly, you could argue that's exactly what's happening here. In our case though, American Express is the gold. Delta partners of American Express because it makes sense business-wise. It also makes them money, about $7 billion annually by 2023. For your big contracts, if not the biggest contract, you want to keep them happy. So let's go back to who they're cutting out. Number 1, they're no longer selling passes to people who don't have status. This tells us that the money that they get from passes isn't really worthwhile, and it's just not worth their time to pick up pennies when there's dollar bills flying around. Number 2, the choice benefit changes tells us that Diamond as well as Platinum are not as valuable as we might think. While it's easy to say that they don't care about their elites, I think they do care, but it's below their line. What is above their line though is Delta 360. So despite all of these changes, Delta 360 is unaffected from anything. In case you don't know what it is, Delta 360 is an invite-only program that's the step above Diamond for their VIPs. Oftentimes, these are people who fly a lot or people who are in charge of booking for their company. And to be fair, it makes sense because you want to keep certain people happy. The exact requirements aren't disclosed, but the ranges are pretty high. Some speculate between $50,000 for 360 and even upwards of $100,000 in spend on Delta flights for a 360 invite if you are in a hub. Probably a weird example, but they care less about the fact that you're going to the club every week and more so that you're buying bottle service or bringing people that are buying bottle service. Number 3, premium tickets still matter. On a per square basis, business customers who do pay retail are worth easily twice the price of economy. If you were Delta, I think you would make the same exact decision. This is also why I don't think 2029 is going to be an issue for us. A lot of people think that that's when the Platinum card is going to be cut off, but it just doesn't make sense. If anything, Delta would cut off other means of buying membership entirely, or maybe set caps to the number of visits you can make before they cut off American Express. And even then, I don't think the cap per visit is going to happen because American Express has kind of not taken that stance on the Centurion lounges. Contrary to popular belief, I don't think Delta is being held hostage by American Express. I think they're actually working together and pretty happy about it. And to be fair, American Express has had Delta's back in a lot of bad spots and pretty much bailed them out. Okay, so what does this mean for us as credit card users and enthusiasts? Number one, American Express is clearly in the driver's seat, and we're probably in the passenger seat as platinum card holders, while status people who have elite status, are probably in the trunk. And this is as someone who has Delta Diamond status, who would be otherwise in the trunk if not for having the get out of trunk card. Number two, if you don't have the platinum and you fly Delta a lot, I would consider getting the card, given the value prop. I know there is a big annual fee, but for the most part, it should make sense, especially in year one, given all the credits you get. In year two, you can reevaluate, and we also have calculators on our site, so well worth the 5 minutes. Number three, if you have a platinum and you fly Delta, it's probably going to be emptier in the first half, and maybe even in the long term. I'm less confident in the long term part, but I feel like there is a demographic that either can't get credit cards or just doesn't want to. Given my time on YouTube, I do know that there's a cohort that completely hates credit-related things, even if it makes financial sense. Basically, they view credit as a knife and that knives as dangerous, therefore credit is dangerous. If anything, I'm more so curious whether there's any other airlines that are on the table to do something innovative. I don't think it's going to be United and Chase because their contract already goes until 2029. They can do something, they can go back to the negotiation table, but I just feel like neither one really cares that much unless Chase gets pushed really hard. I think the more interesting one is going to be American Airlines, whose contract is apparently up for renewal right now as of 2022. And to be fair, for most business things, negotiations have probably already happened, and they're just waiting to announce it, probably in 2023. If anything, I'd argue that American is the most likely to do something like this, given that they are the most in-debt airline in the US at $36 billion. It also doesn't help that their 2022 year hasn't been great, with financial and operational issues. Is there a world where in the long term you can transfer your Citi Thank You points to American Airlines? Maybe they'll add their lounges again, like they did with the Prestige. Similarly, I think Citi is in the driver's seat, and if they offered to infuse, let's say, $1 billion into American Airlines, they would probably take that deal. Again, if you do want to learn about cards and you want to support the channel, we do have links on the website, AskSebby.com, and down below in the description box. If you made it to this point in the video, then leave a plain emoji in the comments down below, and I'll try to heart it and also respond. My question for you is, are you happy with these changes, or do you think American Express will in the long term also get the stick? Let me know and everyone else know in the comments down below. Big favor, give this a thumbs up, consider subscribing, but otherwise, hope you guys liked it. See you guys next time.